and welcome to the future of retailing and the real value of a meaningful interaction. My name is John Bloom, and with my business partner Scott McIntyre, we just welcome everyone and thank you for joining us this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm going to go through a few slides. We've got an interesting panel today, and we'll also offer this in a recorded mode. So we'll send you the link for the recorded session after the webinar is over. A couple things to remind yourself or be reminded of when we start the webinar. This content is directed at retail, but certainly think about this in other verticals as well. And if you have any questions or if you'd like to interact with the rest of the team, please use your GoToWebinar tools. Select the questions tab, and if we have time at the end of the session today, we'll get to a few of the key questions that we have. And without any other delay, I'll go ahead and introduce, talk a little bit about who we are and introduce the panel, and we'll get started. So as I said before, my name is John Bloom. My business partner Scott McIntyre and I co-founded Infinite Green about 6.5 years ago. And we based that, the reason why we started our company was really to help companies create and deliver exceptional customer experience. We've got retail roots. We're grounded in being nimble and speed to execute, how to innovate, and how to be creative, because retailing is definitely an emotional business. And we think that the topics that we're bringing forward today and the experience that our panel has should be compelling and interesting to hold your attention for at least an hour. So please feel free to, like I said, to give us some feedback, ask us any questions, and use your questions tab to do so. And so who is on our panel today is Graham Bell, who is the founder and retail expert in Planet Twig. We've got Ryan Vaughn and Brad Snedeker. Graham, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll go down the list with Ryan and Brad.
Okay, thanks, John. Yeah, my name is Graham Bell, and I'm based here in the UK. And as John mentioned, I run a company called Planet Twig, which is a digital creative design agency here in the UK. And we focus on customer experience and branding. But before that, my background was really in IT and operations, where I worked for Carphone Warehouse, Geek Squad, and Best Buy Europe, really around the side of operational management in store, managed services, reverse logistics, business change, and setting up contact centers. So that's kind of my background.
Great, thanks, Graham. We've got Ryan Vaughn, who's a solutions engineer with Salesforce. Ryan, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, John, thank you. Yeah, this is Ryan. I'm based in Dallas, Texas. I've been at Salesforce for about 2 years as a solution engineer focused on our Service Cloud product. Before coming to Salesforce, I spent about 15 years in various aspects of CRM implementations, primarily focused on customer service and support. My experience is across multiple industries, including retail. Just a couple quick words about who Salesforce is, if you guys don't know who they are or we are. We're really the leader in enterprise cloud computing and CRM. Our tagline is we help our customers connect with their customers in a whole new way. And obviously the whole point of cloud computing is no hardware or software to install or maintain. We're really, at the end of the day, we enable our customers to focus on innovation, not keeping the lights on. So, the final thing I'll say is we have 7 applications that we've deployed on our cloud: sales, service, marketing, community, analytics, apps, and Internet of Things is our latest one. So happy to be here today.
Great, thanks, Ryan. And then last but not least, Brad Snedeker, who's the Innovation Center Manager for our partner Calabrio. And Brad, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, great, thank you. So my name is Brad Snedeker. I am the manager of the Innovation Center here at Calabrio. I have over 15 years of experience working with contact centers and have a strong focus in workforce optimization. Specifically, my primary focuses are in the workforce management area as well as analytics. Calabrio as an organization, if you're not familiar with us, we are based out of Minneapolis, and we are the provider of the Calabrio One suite of workforce optimization software, which includes quality management, performance management, workforce management, and of course analytics. So that's who we are. I'm excited to be talking to you guys today.
Great. Thanks, Brad. All right, now what we're going to see today and what you'll hear today are a few different things, basically bucketed out in 3 specific areas. We're going to look at keeping in mind that value of an interaction and a meaningful interaction within retail. We're going to go through omni-channel, which is a pretty heavy buzzword right now within the industry, but we're going to really unpack that and look at those value interaction bridges between stores, webs, other channels, social, etc. We're going to talk a little bit about the customer, bringing the customer to the retailer, and then responding to the customer, excuse me, in a more meaningful way. And then some of the marketable assets within the contact channel and why those insights continue to be extremely important to not only the existing service experience, but also to the future needs from a products and services perspective. We're also going to go through some enablers, right? So technology definitely helps enable this type of multi-channel or omni-channel delivery, but more importantly, how that layers into core legacy systems within the retail environment. One thing that Brad and Ryan both mentioned was from a cloud perspective, being nimble, being on demand, but certainly not part of the internal plumbing, if you will, of retail. So it's really giving horsepower to those legacy systems within retailers. And we'll look a little bit more, and we'll go deep on that for a few slides just to make sure that everyone understands what those capabilities are and that you don't have to go 100% into a rip and replace mode to get some of the benefits out of that so that you continue to see that value within those interactions. And then some key takeaways I want everyone to remember here is if you're looking for those enablers in your business, do you effectively, do you have that vision? Can you effectively support an omni-channel movement or are in transition to do that? How do you transition your operation to bring these concepts to reality? A lot of people talk about the willingness to do that, but there are some key things that need to happen, and the companies that you have on the webinar today can certainly help kickstart that conversation or get down the road and enable you into delivery of that. And then how you can learn more about enabling technologies to further extend the value of the brand or the product or service that you have in the market. So what we'll take a look at here is now the evolution of retail. So retail has gone through this a pretty active kind of transition from the traditional bricks and mortar all the way through e-com and multi-channel, which was probably the last 5 years or so, into the newer omni-channel space. So it's no longer just a bricks versus clicks conversation from a retailer and from a customer value, a customer interaction perspective. The most simple way of thinking about omni-channel from our perspective is it's just cross-channel done really well. Cross-channel done well is something that a number of companies will spin up or attempt to put those channels on the page and allow customers to interact with them. But when you start going in between those channels is when it gets a little more challenging, but it's also where the value really gets exponential to both the retailer and to the customer. And we'll look at that in a minute as to how much more customers are willing to shop with omni-channel retailers versus just the traditional brick and mortar or multi-channel retailers. So retailers have to rethink their operation from the infrastructure perspective, and as I stated before, the systems and tools need to deliver on that, not necessarily in a rip and replace way, but to extend the value of that core operating platform, as well as enhance and deliver new channel experiences to enable that cross-channel done well. So who does it today? Who does it well? This really is part of the National Retail Federation's Retail Top 100 source list. And really, if you take a look at these are mostly domestic companies with the exception of one. But really, this is if you look at some of the brands on here, we're going to go deep on some interesting things that Macy's has been doing in this space. But you've got some traditional heavy bricks and mortars companies that have really evolved into the omni-channel space, like Walmart. Nordstrom's is doing some very interesting work within the Instagram space around enabling hundreds of thousands of images of the products, clothing products and accessories that they provide, and allowing purchase directly from Instagram, as their potential customers being younger and shopping more within Instagram to see what those items look like and look like in action. They're effectively taking the traditional go to the website, go to the cart, and go ahead and purchase out of the mix and offering a click to buy right from there. Kroger's, as a traditional grocery store, they're offering some unique spaces in the social and mobile space to really fulfill the lower margin in groceries or grocery goods to be different in the space, as well as Home Depot and Walgreens to round it out. And we'll go a little bit deeper on this list. This certainly isn't an exhaustive list, but from Amazon's perspective, they're really the only traditional e-tailer or e-com site that is there. But Ryan, why don't you go into a little bit about what you heard at Dreamforce a couple of weeks ago regarding Macy's, and then we'll go deeper on that in the slide coming up here.
Yeah, sure. So Salesforce has a well-established retail vertical, and all of these customers on this slide are customers of Salesforce's. So we deal with them in various degrees across the enterprise. As John mentioned, Dreamforce was our big conference 2 weeks ago in San Francisco. It's the biggest conference, or technology conference in the world, at 170,000 attendees this year. Pretty amazing. We had a dedicated retail track there at Dreamforce with people from all the leading retailers. And the main topic there was really around precision retail, which is all about what we're talking about here today. So, some of the key nuggets, and we're going to expand on all this throughout the discussion, but a couple of the key nuggets that I took away from that are, retail is really interesting because it's the front line of this customer transformation that's happening across all industries. That's why it's really interesting to us. And, there's this clear differentiation that we're seeing from our retail customers, where brand is really the biggest differentiator, or engagement is really the biggest differentiator of their brand. And they see that more as customers are starting to interact across all these different channels. So companies like Macy's, Target, Aldo, Burberry, Walgreens were all there. They all talked about what they're doing. And some of the things that we heard a lot about, I'd say it kind of fall into three major categories in terms of the kind of the hardest problems that retailers are facing out there. One is this whole push towards mobility, right? With the launch of mobile devices, and they're growing at rates never seen before in the industry. And customers are wanting to do their business on mobile phones. They want to sell and service over mobile phones. Also social, right? This has been out for a few years now, but it's absolutely disrupting the industry in a big way. And finally, and I think the most relevant one here for this conversation, is really this whole concept of servicing customers at their point of need, right? So no longer can we sit back in our stores and wait for customers to come to us with their questions. We have to give them the information that they need to make an intelligent buying decision, or else they'll go find another brand. So really, at the end of the day, what we kind of came across with, or away with, was that retail customers have to be smart. They have to be able to deal at the one-to-one level of personalization, and they have to be able to meet their customers anywhere. It's really a full omni-channel approach to the retail market.
Great, thanks, Ryan. Brad, as you've been working through customer insights and as you've been monitoring the social spaces and some of the other face-to-face interactions as well as voice-to-voice interactions, maybe you can go through a couple of examples that you've run across in the past years and how those insights really drove better customer interactions and have helped this movement along.
Yeah, absolutely. So you made the point earlier that omni-channel is really just multi-channel or cross-channel communication done really, really well. And we deal with a lot of organizations that are multi-channel. Of course, everybody essentially in this world, in order to survive, you need to be multi-channel. The demographics are very, very clear. If you're somebody that is under the age of 35, your chances of using traditional communication methods, through a phone or visiting a brick and mortar location, are significantly reduced. Most people nowadays, especially in the younger demographics, are really going to focus on other channels of communication. And the key to a true omni-channel strategy is making sure that you're able to engage your customers with the same level of service regardless of the channel that we have. So we have to make sure that we're integrating these channels thoughtfully and making sure that essentially one hand can talk to the other, and everybody communicates very, very closely together. With our clients, we've worked with a number of different clients in a lot of different areas of retail, people that are selling more of the kind of smaller, just transactional retail, all the way up to people that sell larger items like vehicles and those types of things. And really the challenges that they face are all the same. To me, I think I really like this list because this is showing a lot of innovative companies. Some of them have brick and mortar. Most of these locations have brick and mortar. Amazon, as an example, is, to me, one of the epitomes of a company that I think really gets it right. Every channel of communication that you use with Amazon, they are very responsive. They are very proactive, and they're an organization that everybody is really trying to emulate. And you see that a lot in social media, and when people are kind of talking about, well, I wish your service was like these guys. And so that's really what we're trying to help our customers do, is build themselves up so that they really become the model of an organization that does it well, that treats their customers with respect, and gives them the communication options that they need.
Yeah, that's great. That's really where the value becomes real, not just a marketing message, right? So it's really important that that continues to be more of the foundation going forward versus spinning up a new way of communicating, a new way of commerce, and then retrofitting yourself into it. There's more deliberate activity to become real value versus the we'll get there shortly. So Graham, one thing I'd like to hear from you on, from an international perspective, is now that we've determined the term omni-channel is really the newest and latest and greatest term of cross-channel done well, we're not done yet, right? I think you've got a perspective from an international perspective that may be of interest and should be of interest as retailers need to continue to think above and beyond where they are today.
Yeah, exactly. I was just listening to Brad talk there about Amazon, and absolutely, Amazon are one of the companies that started out in the in the online space and have gone from strength to strength, and the company that everyone is looking at as to how to deliver their online model. But even Amazon have got a little way to go and to think about when it comes to the international side of retailing. Just as an example, a few weeks ago there was a worldwide marketing campaign done by Disney and Star Wars called Force Friday, where they were advertising goods and new products available worldwide, and telling people where to buy them, that you could buy them at Amazon, etc., etc. And being in the UK, he's quite enthused about this and went to Amazon to try and buy something, but they weren't available to buy in the UK, but they were on Amazon.co.uk, but they were available on Amazon.com. So that shows the same company is really still got a bit of a way to go when it comes to making their products available internationally. I couldn't then go to Amazon.com and register and buy the products I wanted to because I was already had an account on Amazon.co.uk. So the international side of things needs to be joined up a little bit there. So that's an online company. He's still got a little bit of way to go when it comes to international thinking. Because if I really want that product, what I'll do is I'll go and buy it from an independent source where I can register with them and get it shipped in from the US. So even though they're at the top of the game, when it comes to advertising and pushing things through social media and different channels, they've got to think about enabling that as well to an international market, because the international market are seeing their advertisements and the marketing campaigns and want to engage the next step, which actually buying the products, and that's just a little bit way to go there.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. Yeah, with the internet being ubiquitous from a commerce perspective, however, not quite ubiquitous from a purchasing and an omni-channel delivery perspective, it'll be interesting to see which companies continue to raise up those capabilities and bridge that gap versus just continue to play in the .com, the .co, .uk other areas of the world space. So you're probably wondering, all right, well, what's back to the title of the webinar? What's the real value of this interaction and of interactions within retail? It's not insignificant. So omni-channel customers are more engaged, period. So just to read down through here, because I don't want to mess it up here, omni-channel customers spend 93% more than customers who shop online only. Those customers also spend about 208% more than customers who shop in-store only. So what you're starting to see, and possibly a generational ease of access, mobile driving that, social driving that, those companies that really provide that seamless omni-channel experience are rewarded again with, you know, a 3x or more loyalty retention than a single or multi-channel environments. And that's without even the introduction or continued programming around things like loyalty points, etc. Really, loyalty has circumvented the how many points do I get for this product or service. Loyalty is now becoming how can I access your brand in the ways that I want, and how do you engage with me so that it makes me feel like I'm getting the most value out of that. And that's true loyalty for companies to get. Whereas lifetime value numbers that we'll look at in a minute here are actually declining in retailers that aren't able to really deliver that omni-channel experience the right way. So the latest kind of good example of this, I wanted to go into a commercial that has just been out within the last probably month or two. And it's really Dominoes. And Dominoes isn't a retail company, it's a quick service food industry, which is another market that really acts a lot like retail, where you've got a very short window of time to engage with your customer. And I think Dominoes is doing it really well. What you will notice, a couple things on this slide, their AnyWare campaign, it's not a typo. It's really a play on software, or on wares in general, on how particular clients or particular needs can be met through different media. And as we play the video here, it's just a short little commercial clip. Might be a little bit choppy on the webinar, but you'll be able to hear the audio. And what I want you to think about is Domino's really curve jumping the rest of the industry and being out loud and proud about why this is a really important message to their customers, and they are getting credit for it.
TV is the best. Nice try, Eva. Texting is better.
Nah, cars are way better. I'm a smartwatch guy myself. I love Twitter.
TV all day long. I text all day and night.
Your entree.
Wow, hearty. Mine orders Dominoes.
What? So does mine. Me too. Pizza emoji sent, Domino's ordered. Smiley face.
I can order Dominoes on Twitter.
Your order has been placed.
It's a 500 horsepower pizza ordering machine.
I don't ever have to get up. It's been 2 days.
Your favorite device is now order Dominoes.
Yeah, so that was a little choppy, but I encourage you to go out to YouTube and just search for Domino's AnyWare campaign commercial and take a look at that. It's a little more connected when it's not choppy, but I really think that's an interesting way of marketing. And again, Domino's, traditional pizza and other items now, which is why they changed from Domino's Pizza to Domino's from a brand perspective, they have to deliver against that. And they're really pushing the envelope on how connected and how simple it is to order food from their particular brand. So we're about halfway through right now. Just wanted to make sure everyone checks we're about halfway through the time and halfway through the content. So we're doing well. The one thing I did want to kind of bring to light here was really that retail growth in the top 10 space, right? So the highest ranking companies, as we talked a little bit before about what the true value of an omni-channel experience done right is, these highest ranking companies on the retail top 100 have made significant strides in the space around transformation and integration. So I would read between the lines here and say not just marketing, but actually functionally creating the linkages and then delivering against that vision. And most are experiencing higher sustained overall sales growth as a result. So if you look at that top 11, I think I have on here, really of the top 11, 10 are seeing sales growth. This is from 13 to 14. And interestingly enough, if you're in the Minneapolis market listening to this webinar, the two from a growth from 13 to 14 all the way to the right are negative, meaning Target and Best Buy have had some big challenges in heavy retail delivery, heavy retail growth internationally, having to back off on that and get really crisp on what omni-channel really means. And they're both making strides in the right direction here, and we should see them continue to make strides and gain market share and gain the customer's confidence if they can continue to deliver against that model. So this is really where, to remind yourself here, so many people in the last, or so many companies in the last several years have thought, how do we monetize social? That was always kind of the big question mark out there. But now it's really, how do we monetize omni-channel? And you're seeing that here in the sales figures, the variety of retailers that are on this list, and then also how those companies are transforming their products and services to make sure that they continue to add in that space. And I know I mentioned Best Buy a few seconds ago, but Graham, why don't you tell me a little bit about your experience within traditional entertainment goods or hard goods, and how companies like Best Buy and others that deliver entertainment are making good strides in the space around this omni-channel delivery.
Yeah, I mean, there's no surprise there that Amazon are pushing their sales up, and a 22.6% growth there, because there seems to be more of a move now towards people wanting something on demand, the immediacy of getting the product, and also the move towards getting a digital product rather than a physical product. So as Best Buy and companies like that used to sell physical DVDs, physical CDs that you went and you bought and you took back to play in your CD player, DVD player, nowadays all that kind of entertainment is available on demand at the press of a button, which is something that Amazon's doing quite well. And also with Amazon Prime, the immediacy of getting things the next day too. So with the shift towards a digital download and buying your movies and getting it straight away rather than going and buying the physical product, getting your music streaming straight away and buying the download rather than buying the physical CD, there's more of a focus now towards being able to enable the download rather than have the space in the warehouse. And the companies that are getting it right are, looking at that space and doing all their thoughts on getting the digital side and the immediacy side and making content available straight away. They're the ones that are gaining the growth in the space.
Great, thanks, Graham. Yeah, that's a good point. One of the things that Scott and I have realized over the last 6 years at Infinite Green is it's not enough to have a vision and a strategy, but it's also extremely important to have a clear line of sight on how that integrates, or what the integration points are within that delivery model. So Scott, why don't you take us through what integration really looks and feels like, and unpack that a little bit more for the audience.
Sure, thanks, John. So from a seamless perspective, we talked a little bit about how cross-channel to omni-channel requires you to have seamless cross-channel experiences, and that includes both the sales and support perspective. I'll give you an example of where that sometimes falls down. So I did an upgrade. I was trying to upgrade my phone with Verizon a few months ago, and I went online and chatted with a sales agent to see if I could buy a device through chat. And he indicated that I couldn't buy through chat and that I had to call. So I called the call center to go through the same process, and then the call center forwarded me to the store. So I said, well, I can't use chat, I can't use phone. Now I have to go to the store and actually transact. So it's an example of where customers are expecting you to have those capabilities. in any channel that's available to the customer. So it's not enough to throw up chat and only offer a very small amount of services through chat. You have to be able to do the majority of the services through chat seamlessly, because that's what customers expect. And I think that's where the contact center really creates a bridge for the consumer. So a lot of companies have varying groups that manage some of these capabilities, and when that happens, sometimes those capabilities outpace each other. And the only thing that kind of holds them together is a contact center that's talking to the customer, whether it's social, chat, or phone. So that bridge, what we call a bridge between those experiences, is really key as companies are focusing on creating more and more seamless experiences. The challenge is that the channels are really outpacing the company's ability to keep up. So we really feel that bridge is a really important role as your company evolves from a multiple channel perspective into omni-channel to hold that together. Voice of customer insights are also really critical. So it used to be that you can collect data via survey in a store on a POS terminal, and that's what you use to be able to measure how you're doing and listen to the customer in terms of insights. But now insights are coming in from all types of channels like social spaces, phone, in-store, on the web, and either other properties that a retailer might own, outside their own their purview. So being able to capture those insights across multiple channels is key. And one of the things that I think we've seen lately is this push for this on-demand type of service, which is a 24/7 type of service for consumers. They're more and more seeking this. They're shopping more late at night, and they're going to, with all those channels that are available to them, and especially in the web spaces and social spaces that are available 24/7, having somebody that could back up and play that bridge 24/7 is becoming a non-negotiable. So it's no longer, it's no longer an 8 to 5 business or a open to close business from a store perspective. You need to have live agents on the phone 24/7. Brad, could you talk a little bit about the seamless experience and how important it is, and when you're measuring customer behavior for your clients, and how important that the element of the seamless experience is?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, this is one of these topics that it's really hard to overestimate how important this type of integration and to your point, keeping a seamless integration between your different channels of communication is. I mean, the psychology of this is really not very difficult to understand. I mean, if the vast majority of adults, or frankly even teenagers that live in, at least in this country today, have a device in their pocket that gives them, a smartphone that gives them instant access to, let's say, I'll just throw a number out here, 95% of all of the knowledge that mankind has been able to gather over the last 10,000 years of civilization. So I mean, we have this unprecedented access to immediate information, entertainment, communication with essentially everyone in the world. And that expectation is bleeding into every aspect of people's lives. And so when people are doing business with an organization, they have incredibly high expectations of what that experience is going to be like. They want their issues handled immediately, and they want them handled to their satisfaction the first time they contact you. And so when we're working with clients, one of the things that we really make sure that we focus in on is, do we have the ability to service our customers regardless of their preferred channel? Do we have the same level of information available to all of our agents regardless of their channel of communication? Because we want to make sure that people don't have to try 3 different channels of communication to get an issue resolved. Everyone should have the same capabilities, and if they don't, you will see that within your customer service scores, you will see that within your analytics results, that people will start to become upset. You're not servicing me the way that I feel that I should be serviced, and so I'm going to go look for somebody that will do that. And with the competitive landscape that we're in, especially in the retail space, we really can't afford to lose customers for that reason. We need to make sure that we're giving them the level of service that they frankly demand.
Great, thanks, Brad. John, why don't you talk a little bit about retail innovation and what companies are doing to innovate in different spaces and different channels.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Macy's has, and we looked at Macy's back a couple of slides ago on who's doing it well. Traditional retail store innovation usually involves how stores are laid out, the lab looks like, how shelf space looks, how items are displayed, what end caps look like to promote new and upcoming products, etc. But what Macy's is doing is they purchased or rented space in San Francisco in the developers area of San Fran, and they built an innovation lab that includes call centers. It allows people from the public to walk in and to kick the tires on some of the things that they have been vetting around, give their insights, really touch and feel the aspects of the experience, not just the products that they serve or that they deliver. And also from that, they've developed this image library extension into Instagram, and I know I talked about that a little bit before. They have over 300,000 shoppers who browse and buy on a regular basis because of this. So it's a meaningful part of how Macy's is not only adding revenue to the mix, but they're also gaining the insights, looking at things differently from an omni-channel perspective by including the call center support folks, the store employees, the general public to be able to kick the tires on those services and products, and really create almost like a social space that's true brick and mortar, but it has such deeper and broader value across all the channels from an omni-channel perspective. And they've gone as far as even hiring a chief omni-channel officer. Now, not everyone can do that, but I think what they're doing is, again, they're pushing and disrupting the market, and retailers from thinking about just the physical space only as their main brand to all of the other aspects of omni-channel. And Ryan, I think you had some good conversation and heard from the Macy's folks during a keynote at Dreamforce. You want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, we were lucky enough to have Macy's participate in our retail keynote, which, by the way, is available online if anybody wants to watch it. I can share the link out. But a gentleman named Yasser Anwar, who's the Group VP of Engineering and Customer Apps for Macy's.com and Bloomingdale's, spoke with our leader of the retail industry. So he's a gentleman who was hired a couple years ago to come in and start Macy's Labs. And the charter of that group is really around innovation, disruption, and transformation. That was what he was charged with doing. And what he implemented, which is really interesting, is this whole focus on grassroots level innovation. So he really reached out and talked to employees, talked to the community, the VCs who are involved, and came up with some great new ideas. And they really sort of took the blinders off and thought outside of the box, if I can use that buzzword. So what they're trying to do is really focus on just delivering this comprehensive omni-channel experience to their customers. And they see that as an area for them to really lead the market and try to disrupt. And to do this, what they needed is a set of tools to help kind of push them forward and enable them to really make these new ideas real. So they worked with a Salesforce platform to deploy several ideas already. So for one, they had a visual search of their mobile catalog now. They've done gifting on the platform. And he gave a couple of examples other than that as well. But what I think the really important thing that we heard from them is their time to market used to be about 12 months. They take an idea, develop it, test it, put it in the hands of the customers. That used to take about a year. And after they put this in place, it's now taking about a month. So that's 1/12 of what it used to be. So what's really happened is through deploying this new set of tools, they've been able to focus on building business applications instead of really maintaining the infrastructure. So I encourage you to listen to the rest of that keynote if you have a chance.
Great, thanks Ryan. I think that aspect of innovation and, to your point, taking the blinders off is what will allow companies to be much more deliberate about how they design and manage that omni-channel experience going forward. And just for food for some additional thought here, I had intimated earlier that there was a loyalty or a lifetime value pretty wide gap between kind of an omni-channel experience versus all others that are just typically looking at customer lifetime value in a single or multi-channel environment, not necessarily cross-channel. But that customer retention metric is extremely higher than that traditional model, and as most of us probably are well aware, in whatever industry we're in, the cost to retain a good customer is quite a bit less than acquiring a new one. So again, that's real dollars and real meaningful up front from a marketing and from an ops perspective. And then the profit margin. So how much of the wallet are you actually getting from Omni-channel? Is it just that we're expecting customers to use multiple channels in their own way, or do they actually give us more of their wallet because, again, they have more confidence in the products and services that we're providing because we are opening it up and being transparent and innovative about that. And as you can tell, that's an extremely large number, and just for being out loud and proud and on purpose about that omni-channel experience.
And I think the key word on this is being deliberate. So companies that just announce or throw up capabilities in a channel isn't enough these days. It has to be that you're deliberately designing experiences that are complementary across channel. And that's where the benefit comes in, not the fact that you're just present in the channel, that you're very deliberate about designing those experiences.
Yeah, exactly. So Scott, you brought up a good point there about being deliberate, and I talked a little bit before about the common thought process around social and how do you monetize social. I think we've built that into the message here today, but why don't you go a little deeper on the social space, since you have some pretty good experience helping Best Buy spin up their social monitoring and interaction space, and talk to us a little bit about how that supports the omni-channel and value in retailing.
Sure, thanks, John. Across the bottom of this slide, you'll see that there's various stages of where companies might be at in monitoring or analyzing social spaces. So from the left to the right, you've got a monitoring stage where you're just listening and kind of perusing what's out there. And then you move into the analytics side, which you might be taking metrics of how many times your brand was mentioned in social spaces and what that means to the company. And then when you move to number 3, it means that you're interacting with customers in those channels. Usually that starts with a smaller group of people. Sometimes it's a care team, sometimes it's a marketing team engaging. And then some companies have matured into a social enabled enterprise, which means that anybody from the company can interact with anybody in social, and that could be employee, customer, or both. There's not too many companies that have matured fully into that model. Most people are sitting between number 2 and 3 right now. But regardless of where your company might be, some rules, some more practical rules around interacting with customers in these spaces. Again, don't use channel shifting as a mechanism. So in other words, don't throw out chat as an option if all you're going to do is transfer them to a different department. Don't monitor Twitter and then say, hey, we're going to take this offline, even though some situations you'll want to take offline. They could be hot situations, etc. But make sure that that person that takes that tweet is the person that's following up with the customer. And have the same service policies. So some companies run into trouble with creating service policies that are different for social channels because they feel that customers might have a bigger impact on their brand. But making sure you're consistent across channels from a policies perspective is important. Otherwise, you could get in. What ends up happening is customers. It's kind of like the phenomenon where you ask to speak with a supervisor on the phone because the tier 1 person doesn't support you. It's the same type of thing in social. You want to make sure that you have the same policies and procedures across the board, across channels. So transitioning to voice of customer. A lot of companies have a voice of customer program where they capture insights from multiple sources. The challenge, I think, in an omni-channel state is that the insights are coming in from a lot more different areas. So you've got CRM tools like Salesforce that's capturing customer behaviors and customer dispositions across channels. You have an IVR system potentially. You obviously have the web and surveys. You have voice analytics tools, research tools, point of sale surveys, employees, etc. So what makes it tougher is that none of this data is normalized across the enterprise. So it takes somebody to have a lens on where this data came from, at what point were they in the cycle. Was this a sales type of cycle? Was this a support or a service cycle? And what was the customer disposition during that time? So the dimensions of voice of customer, are getting a lot more complex. So it takes somebody that kind of understands that end-to-end process, versus just a marketing team or just a care team, just an analytics team. It's going to take someone with context to be able to make hay with the complexity of this voice of customer data. Brad, what kind of experiences do you have in analyzing all these sources of data, and how is that changing?
Yeah, it's a great topic. So as somebody that has worked with analytics since we started working with it, of course, years and years ago, to see the evolution of where the products were and where they've come to is pretty amazing. Obviously, we started out with speech and text and standard text analytics on things like emails, desktop analytics we've included. But you're absolutely right. In this day and age, that's simply not enough. We need to be able we need to be inclusive and include every different form of communication, every different source of data that we have in regards to customers. So it includes chat and email, social media, CRM data, the point of sale information. All of that information, being able to contain it, has really been the primary focus of a lot of organizations, ourselves included. And there's a couple of things to keep in mind there. Number one, when you're looking for tools that are going to help you organize this data, one of the things that we feel is really, really important is to have one unified source of data that we can go to in order to access this information. To Scott's point, when we want to make sure that this data is normalized, we want to make sure that everyone has access to it, and we want to make sure that we don't have to jump between multiple different systems to deal with multiple different metrics that we have to interpret amongst themselves. Having everything in one system really helps to do that. But to Scott's other point, and frankly this is even more important in my perspective, is you do need that human element. You need a person there that is going to be able to drive that discovery of what are we actually finding, what is the voice of the customer telling us, what's working for them, what's not, where can we improve, and all of that data is contained within all of these different sources. So we need to make sure that we have people driving that, and we have to have people behind that. And also, again, to back up what what Scott was saying with what I've seen in the real world, is we need to make sure that we're bringing in people from different aspects of the organization. Analytics and voice of the customer is not the realm of just the contact center. It shouldn't be just the responsibility of the contact center to do that. We want to bring in people from other, with different areas of expertise, people from marketing, people from the operations group, to make sure that the insights that we're delivering are actually actionable, and that we can implement business plans based on the information that we find that's going to help us drive improvements and help us continue to improve our customer service, so that again and then again, of course, to follow up and monitor that and make sure that the voice of the customer, that they're actually noticing those improvements. So making sure that we've got a unified system and that we have people there to make sure that we're actually driving those insights, extremely important.
Great, thanks, Brad. Ryan, what about you? You said you were at Dreamforce recently. What was kind of the buzz around voice of customer, voice of the employee, and the capabilities that enable that?
Yeah, it's just really important. I have a couple more points to add on to what Brad just said. So, I think the important thing here is it used to be important enough to just capture this information, report on it, try to look for macro trends. But now what customers are expecting is we should make this data actionable, right? We should put it in not just the call center, but it should be part of the marketing journey that a customer goes through. It should lead to things like a personalized store experience, through things like mobile apps and beacons in the store, all these new things that are coming out, this technology that's leading the way. And finally, in the call center, let's get beyond just traditional ways of matching a customer up with an agent in terms of just what channel are they calling in on, or what's the availability. Let's start to use this data to understand things like satisfaction, the value of that customer, their order history, open cases, and let's use that real data to apply the right skill set to that inquiry and get it to the right agent so that customer gets their question answered. So a lot of interesting things happening around voice of the customer.
Great, thanks, Ryan. We talked a little bit about the role of the contact center being the bridge. I'm not going to drain this slide due to time, but feel free to follow up. We have this webinar recorded, so you can take a look at that when you have some more time. So from a technology perspective, there's a lot of ways that you can enable a customer from a cross-channel or a multi-channel to an omni-channel perspective. Things like predictive IVR services. So, if you knew a customer was just in a social space or just placed an order on the web, when they call into the contact center and have a question or they chat, having that information available and be able to treat that customer in a unique way and not going through the generic process every time is going to be key. So there are capabilities out there that exist, but it takes us, again, getting back to that deliberate design. Think of these experiences, think of your customers crossing channels to shop and to get service. How would you want to introduce them, service at the point of the process of an order, or service just in time as a predictive service? Hey, if you know that an order has been delayed, proactively reaching out to the customer when that order is delayed, since you know that that's happened in the system. There's a lot of data that you have available to you now. There's a lot of tools out there that enable you to design these customer experiences, and being deliberate with it is where companies are taking it. So segmentation-based, order processing-based, traffic-based. If I'm on the web and I'm in a lot of social spaces, reaching out to customers in social spaces so that you're serving them where they want to be, where they want to interact with the brand, are critical. Now, we talked a little bit about these platforms as a service versus all this systems integration. In the past, especially in contact centers, you had to integrate a ton of different tools to be able to get to this level of data. And now that you have these platforms out there that are completely integrated out of the box, that data is normalized for you, and it's so much easier to get access to data that's actionable these days with the tool set that's out there. Ryan, can you talk a little bit about what Salesforce is doing in this space and some of the capabilities Salesforce has to offer?
Yeah, this is where I spend most of my time with customers, and I could go on for hours, but I won't in the interest of time. But one of the biggest things that I see over and over with companies that are trying to take this journey is they're struggling with what I would call systems of record. Right? They've made these massive investments in these tools that are siloed by nature. They're really intended to support operational processes, but they're not optimized for customer engagement. Right? And that leads to this channel-focused setup that we have around customers. And what they really need and what they're putting in place is what we call a system of engagement that sits on top of that system of record. And it's really a platform for servicing customers across channels. Right? It needs to be easy for employees and customers to use. And we can't forget about the employee here, right? It's not just about the customer. It's also about enabling your employees to be successful. And that system of engagement needs to provide that single view of the customer. It needs to be very easy to integrate with all these other systems. So the systems of record, the operational systems like phone systems and billing systems. You need to pull all that data in to have a true view of what this customer is all about. It needs to be accessible across all devices. And it needs to be able to provide self-service. That's a topic that we haven't spent enough time on today, but the importance of that is huge. And then finally, where we're heading in the future, which is proactive service. Reach out to me before I even know there's a problem and let me know that you've already taken care of it.
Brad, anything to add on how Calabrio is approaching this type of integration and being able to connect channels for customers?
Yeah, absolutely. And to Ryan's point, this is something I talk about with people a lot and could spend a lot of time here. But the key thing with the workforce optimization is it's important to make sure when you are looking at your suite of tools that you're going to be implementing to optimize your workforce. And again, when we talk about workforce optimization, we're talking about quality management, workforce management, analytics, performance management. It's important to have tools that look at things from an omni-channel perspective. Scheduling agents to handle phone calls is very different than scheduling agents to handle chat and handling email and handling social media interactions. So you need to make sure that you have a system that can look at the skills and the different requirements for each type of channel of communication that you have and take those into account from a scheduling perspective. We need to make sure our quality tools have the ability to import different forms of communication so that we can, again, to Ryan's point, we can have one system of record that has all of our quality information contained in it. We don't want to be jumping between different systems and trying to compare apples and oranges because we have different channels of communication. And from an analytics perspective, it's really the same thing. We need to make sure that we have one solution that has the ability to go in and pull in customer insights, voice of the customer, agent agent optimization improvements, all in one environment. And that is something that we do at Calabrio. We built our solution from the ground up to be fully integrated and to be one unified interface that you can move between in order to get access to all of the information that you need to run your business.
Great. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, so to round it out, thanks, Brad. What I really appreciate about both your comments and Ryan's comments are, for those of you on the phone or on the webinar right now thinking through this, there are different flavors. One size doesn't fit all, but there are options out there for where your company is on the journey and what you need to curb jump in a certain area or just have a better perspective for an investment plan or a look ahead to your business. And the experience that Ryan and Salesforce have in the space, as well as Brad and Calabrio, are really making great strides in the space of connecting the dots for their clients, as well as just providing solutions so that as they become, as their clients become more mature or as they need horsepower, both their companies are really well suited to help those clients get to that omni-channel experience and really differentiate themselves to their competition. So to close out the webinar, again, thank you for everyone joining. A couple of points I want you to take away today. Those growth retail organizations are getting more deliberate with designing experiences, innovating around those, and looking at cross-channel versus just multi-channel, and finding value in the collective versus just the single-channel entities. Those operating teams like call centers and store labor and just your folks that interact day in and day out with your customers, no matter the vertical, really need access to those customer systems, the information that those customers use to invite you as a company into their lives to service them, but on the flip side, to be able to service them the right way, those operations teams need to have that same level of access to deliver that omni-channel experience. And then as you look at technology, it doesn't have to be a rip and replace. It can be a capability of an add or a leverage existing with progressive companies like Salesforce, Calabrio, and companies like Infinite Green that I represent. We just help companies, again, create those better experiences so that we all have more fun doing what we do day in and day out, and the customers get a much better experience, and we free up the opportunity for growth in multiple ways in an omni-channel way for the future. So thank you to everyone who's participated. We're right at the bottom of the hour now. I want to thank Ryan with Salesforce, Brad and the Calabrio team, Graham from the UK and Planet Twig. And just as another reminder, we will send out the link to the recording after the webinar is over. And please take a look at future webinar events that we're going to have on other verticals or go deeper on other topics around this, and feel free to reach back out to us if you have any future questions. And on behalf of myself, Scott, the Infinite Green team, and everyone who participated, have a great day and go after that omni-channel experience and demand more of the customers and clients that you do business with as well. And it'll all work out the right way. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.